Hi, my name is Deputy Stephen Williams. I'm assigned to the Bellflower SAO team. I've been a Los Angeles County Sheriff's Deputy for 12 years. Over the last 4 weeks, we had citizens from all over the city of Bellflower attend Bellflower Citizens Academy, and the goal of the academy was to try and give them a sneak peek behind the scenes of what law enforcement officers deal with on a daily basis. We brought them down to the station, they got a station tour, and they got a very important lecture. It basically has to do with why cops do what they do. Why is it that a police officer carries a gun, sometimes has to punch somebody, has to tackle somebody? It's just, why can cops use force? We talked about case law, we talked about constitutional law, and we also talked about our department policies. We showed them a quick tour around the jail. They got to see a less lethal demonstration, including a beanbag shotgun deployment, an R1 deployment, and a taser deployment. They also got to check out we had the helicopter land at the station. They got to get exposed to that. The next week we brought them out. We had one of our arson explosives detectives come out. In addition to investigating arson, they're also our primary response to bomb type threats. They got to bring out their trucks and their cool toys, their suits and helmets and robots and all that kind of stuff. They got to check that out. And then the grand finale tonight, everyone came down to our tactics and survival training center, and they got to get a little taste of what law enforcement officers have to deal with on a daily basis, particularly in high stress situations where you have to make split-second decisions.
I'm sorry, man! I'm sorry! I didn't mean to do it! I didn't mean to do it! Get out of the car! Get out of the car!
So we went through, tonight they went through several different scenarios. We broke all the students up into officer pairs. And so they went out in a patrol car together. The first scenario, the two deputies are driving down the street. They're driving down an alley looking for bad guys. It's something that deputies are doing right now and all over the country. As they're walking down or driving down the street, ultimately the person pulled a gun out and ambushed him. And this is something that's happened to real life deputies and officers all across the country just because of the uniform they're wearing. And the students got a chance to see how fast things can happen, and that was probably the number one thing that people said as they're coming out of that is, wow, I can't believe it happened that fast, and how long it took me to get out of the car, how long it took me to even get simple things like get my seatbelt off. So the last scenario that the students went through was they responded to a family disturbance call. Again, a very typical call that officers and deputies respond to all over the country. When they got there, they were immediately approached by somebody that's bleeding from the neck and say, hey, my dad's crazy, he just cut me with a knife. Then they look up towards the house and they have two family members, one of them holding a knife, and they're arguing and yelling. And now while that's going on, as it happens in real life, neighbors start coming out of their houses, they start wondering what's going on. They start approaching, they start saying, hey, maybe that person's had a bad experience with law enforcement, so they're saying, hey, just leave them alone. Now they're requesting additional units, and we see another unit rolls up with their lights and sirens on. They get out. So now you have 4 deputies or officers that are trying to get involved in a situation where they have multiple people coming at them from all different angles. Meanwhile, they still have this guy on the porch that has a knife that is a lethal threat, not only to the officers, but to all the bystanders standing around. And in a situation like that, you just have sensory overload. People are constantly, they don't know what to do, and as you can see in the video, they kind of freeze up and they don't really know what to do. Leading all the way up to the point where you'll have the person, you see the role player that has the knife in his hand gets tased, he starts to go down, and after that, people are then drawing their guns and shooting somebody that's on the ground. Again, that goes back to you hear those news stories about why did the officer shoot him after he already went down on the ground? Well, as you can see in that situation, they're reacting as fast as they can. Their mind can only process things up to a certain speed. So by the time that person takes a step towards them with the knife, they're like, oh, I need to draw my gun, get it out, point it at the bad guy, pick up my front sight, start to apply trigger pressure, and by that time, he's already been tased and fallen to the ground. I can't necessarily speak exactly for how it changed their mind. What I hope it did was it gave them a look behind the curtain. They actually get to see, for one, they get to see that we're all people. We're people just like they are. We all have families that we try and go home to. And, the next time they see that news story where, they see, an officer shot 20 times or, a suspect was shot and he was unarmed, now that they've kind of seen that some of the training we go through and why we do the things that we do, they can be more sympathetic and maybe, you know, talk to their neighbors and friends and say, hey, actually, I went through a training scenario and I was in that same exact situation and I would have done the same thing.